Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Bollinger, and I'm the Executive Director at Seed Savers Exchange. I'd like to welcome you all to the final day of the 2024 Seed Savers Exchange virtual conference. As I hope you know by now, our mission is to steward America's culturally diverse and endangered garden and food crop legacies. And one of the ways that we really do this is by sharing stories. I believe this year's conference focused on growing together has really had the opportunity to highlight what Seed Savers Exchange stands for. Collaborative communities of gardeners, seed savers, advocates who are passionate about biodiversity and nurturing the future of our planet. This year, we arranged the conference a little differently. We spread out sessions over 4 months, and we focused each of those days with unique themes. Session 1 was community, then foodways. The last one was plant breeding, and today we're talking about climate. So we're fortunate to have speakers who are going to share their experiences and their work with a focus on climate. It's going to be a great day. I want to remind you and encourage you to add any questions that you have through the chat. We've made an effort to provide time for question and answer at the end. And we have moderators that are on board as well, tracking questions so that we can make sure that we have anything that comes up get answered. I'd also like to share my gratitude to our speakers and sponsors. Today, our sponsor is Rancho Gordo. They're a specialty producer and seller of beans in Napa County, California. For sure, you, the attendees, for joining us throughout all of these conference days. And a huge shout out to Seed Savers Exchange staff that really have gone beyond, above and beyond, yet again, really to make sure that this conference runs smoothly, that we kind of connect all the dots here and can bring folks together. So with that, I am going to bring on board Michael Washburn, who is our Preservation Director at Seed Savers Exchange, as well as Nico, who is our keynote for the day. Michael will speak to our community agreements, as well as do a welcome and introduction to Nico.
Thank you, Mike, for that lovely introduction for today's conference. Just want to welcome everybody to today's keynote presentation by Nicolas Enjalbert. And like Mike said, I'm the Preservation Director at Seed Savers Exchange, and I'm going to be your host for this session. And then before we begin, I would like to acknowledge our community agreements. And so we ask that all participants in growing together, sharing seeds, stories, and skills, be respectful, be curious, be patient, and speak from your own experiences. And try to avoid jargon, and be conscious of intent versus impact, and to take space and make space and take care of self. And by embracing these community agreements, we embrace a collective responsibility to create spaces that are respectful, inclusive, and empowering for all. So, also a special thank you to Rancho Gordo, like Mike said, for sponsoring this session. And founder Steve Stando encourages you as you cook these heirloom beans to keep in mind that we have a common culture with Mexico and the rest of the Americas, and that what you're doing isn't exotic. It's simply continuing traditions that are well established for a reason. Like I said, we're here with Nicolas Enjalbert. And Nico is the CEO and co-founder of SeedLinked, which is an emerging open innovation platform that connects growers and seed innovators, stewards, to redefine the who and how to characterize, breed, and find seeds together. Now, originally from France, Nico brings a broad vision and passion of the current and emerging seed systems, pushing the status quo to build a more decentralized, diverse, connected, and resilient seed industry. And he finds his creativity and recharges through mountain biking, rock climbing, fly fishing with his son. And Nico currently lives in Viroqua, Wisconsin, and is a close friend and neighbor to us here at Seed Savers Exchange. Now, in a world where biodiversity loss threatens our food security, resilience becomes paramount. And we'll be joining Nico as he explores the pivotal role of biodiversity in seed systems for climate resilience. With 1 in 5 plant species facing extinction and commercial varieties becoming even more homogenized, the urgency to act is clear. And today, Nico will be talking about SeedLinked, which is pioneering a community-driven approach to connect crop stewards and breeders and reverse these trends. And discover how this online platform is empowering hundreds of thousands of growers, innovators to shape the future of our food systems through community-based selection. Learn how it is uniting the past, present, and future of food, not only preserving cultural and culinary diversity, but also strengthening local economies and enhancing dietary health. Find out about this transformative power of an adaptive seed system, where stakeholders, including seed banks, breeders, growers, scientists, chefs, and universities, collaborate to develop locally adapted, nutrient-dense, and delicious heirlooms. Nico, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's such an honor and pleasure to be here and speak to all of you. This initiative I've been leading really started at SeedSaver, an idea that was emerging for maybe 10 years in my head and with but really 6 years ago already, sitting at SeedSaver, and I think it was my first pitch of this concept, and 6 years later, it's been a wild journey, and such an honor to be here. First I just want to talk a little bit of my story before I jump in why and more the context and concept of SeedLinked, what is SeedLinked, and also my journey through entrepreneurship, as I never dreamed to be an entrepreneur. But I grew up, central of France is very rural area. I was I would say lucky to grow up in this place where diversity of insect and soundscape, foodscape, and in central France, and flavor and bird and sound, and really shape who I am now, and also shape my activity, as Michael would tell me. I'm really passionate about outdoor, and activity really led me to be struck and shocked about our food and ag system, and it's really where it really started. And I really I feel privileged and so lucky to do all those activity and travel across the world, and so many time looking at our food system and ag system, and how monocropping and our dominant system impact, and really seeing it from my eyes, and can be fly fishing in the river or in the mountains, and a few years ago in the Alps, looking at all those glaciers pretty much disappearing, and looking at those numbers, I was like, what the hell are we doing? 60% of calories, three crop worldwide, 3 crop. And another number is interesting is like in the US alone, our best, most productive land in the Midwest is 180 million acre are just corn and bean. And seeing myself dreaming of how those 100 million acre of corn and bean could be changed as a diverse palette of many crop, and is this possible? And those numbers go on, and this impact of looking, realizing 30% of greenhouse gas emission is from that system, and pretty much our ag and food is really the most impactful in climate change, and it's also where we can have the most impact to revert, to adapt. And we talk a lot about loss of diversity, but what is triggering most of this diversity is, more than 85% of loss of diversity is to our food, and obviously have a link to our diet. But keep my journey, then I end up doing my PhD. It's how I end up in the US, in Colorado, and again enjoying this amazing beauty of outdoor, and finishing my PhD in plant breeding, and really wanted to dive into more local system. For my PhD, I work in developing community-based development for renewable energy and empower growers to produce their own energy. And so I see myself, okay, I have a PhD now and go back in France and wanted to work in those initiatives and could not find a job. My profile was not really suited for academia, where most of this preliminary job was. And so I ended up becoming a carpenter under a friend who was a carpenter. And it was just amazing opportunity. But after a while, for economic reason and family, I was like, I kept receiving those high paid jobs for corporate. And one day I pulled a plug and it really started, it opened my eyes even more. I ended up working for more than 10 years in large corporate seed industry with all the name you know. And it was really mind-blowing. I learned so much. I met incredible scientists, and I really even learned even more the limit of the system and the potential also, like as human, as we criticize so much maybe those company, inside of this company, there were amazing people that were totally willing to listen to me and even give me money and space to do things. But at the fundamental problem, I think it was structural. And when you look at the seed is the beginning of the ag and food system, right? The foundation. And 90% of R&D in seed is really to promote homogeneity at all levels. I mean, it's driven by capital and profit, and all those breeding it's only how much EBITDA or profit you can do, and anything below 10% is not working. It's highly capital intensive, very efficient, and very good at doing what they're doing to develop seed for high input, only few market, and control the whole system. But the structure is absolutely not capable to deliver locally adapted seed. And I was striking so many times, like first, many breeding program of minor crop that now we hope we still add were just dropped, discontinued, put on the shelf because profit was not there. Like many clover breeding program or Sudan grass or like all those crops that now we want for cover crop were all discontinued. And also another point was very interesting is in breeding, there's this concept of broad adaptation versus local adaptation. And given the economic model, we don't want local adaptation. We want a product, we call product a seed, that is broadly adapted. Why? Because it's means large market and large benefit. And so I was like, how can diversity, I think, is a centerpiece, is a centerpiece to revert climate change, to adapt, to be more resilient. And when I say diversity, it's not only the beautiful diversity of seed saver exchange of all the heirloom, is diversity of region. Where do we produce? Like in upper Middle West, nobody is breeding for tomato or broccoli. It's all those different regions we need to be producing. It's people, many different people who have different needs, different taste, different culture, and crop. I think this is where, we put, as a company like Corteva or Pioneer Path and other, where more than 75% of R&D was just on corn, we need to give capacity to hundreds of crop to adapt, and adapt meaning doing breeding or community breeding or local adaptation. And within those crop, we need a lot of variety. We not only need one corn variety sold under 175 brands and so forth, but we need a much more of that. And so kind of to sum up a little bit, just a realization with kind of the system, the picture I painted of those numbers, and we really need to move towards a much more diverse ag system. And facing, the current status in industry is absolutely not, the structure is not compatible toward a highly diverse. Because what does it mean, highly diverse? I mean, if in those companies we want all the time the lower amount of variety the less product you have, the more margin you have. But really where we need to go, we need to go in the opposite. We need to have so many more variety. And what does that mean in an economic model? Is mean low volume, low profit, and it's not economically feasible for the system to even develop the seed. And so it was like, where do we go? We're kind of in front of a wall here. Like, we need to reshape, really have from the beginning, how do we develop seed, and heirloom and germplasm and seed bank being kind of the ingredient for that. And I was looking at some number, and I was like, and also I had the privilege to on those company to work in many technology and digitalization and data and modeling and how, you know, digitalization, we all use Lyft or Uber or Airbnb, and how right now, like, I have a room and I can just put in an Airbnb and generate an income. I know Airbnb is not the most ethical structure and so forth, but before I had to build a hotel of maybe $50 million and be in the hotel industry. But now it's like so simple, right? Everybody can do it. Why can't we use those technology to do the same in seed? And I was looking at number, and like 97% of farmers are small. It's about more than 500 million of them, and they still produce 70% of our food. They are mostly forgotten by our current system, which is focused on large ag and industrial. They are not connecting in terms of data, and a lot of hard to get information. And on top of that, I just want to add, just in the US alone, there's 32 million households who grow vegetable, 32 million. And realizing that those two communities who, if you look at globally, it's like more than 1 billion people. And those ones are trying and innovating and experimenting, and their knowledge is shocking. And that's something I learned being a breeder. I was all the time shocked about working with farmer and sitting with farmer, and they knew much better my variety as a breeder or research director that I was developing than I do. I was like, why can't I get knowledge from them to help me develop seed? And also me generating so much information, and why did it have to be funnel and clean and never reach the farmer to help them? And yeah, I saw this giant untapped data, and I was like, wow, and why can't we connect like literally millions of data point and knowledge together? Could this be a solution to pivot as a systemic change to develop, the heirloom of the future in a way, based on our knowledge? And I was looking at multiple citizens or community science group. Like one is, there's like more than 30,000 people recording precipitation, like Co-Founder a network in the US. And their information was the most powerful information in precipitation information and prediction. And like, we need to do the same with seed. And maybe that's where there's one of the solution. And for example, Dr. Julie Dawson at UW-Madison, why can't, with a network of hundreds or 1,000 of people developing locally adapted tomato or pepper for upper Middle West, could use this force to develop and improve variety for climate change? And imagine in the process of, let's say, developing those early new tomato for upper Middle West, where you have more and more disease and so forth, and we want more flavor. And then when this variety is released, this huge amount of information could help grower find them, while keeping everything controlled and silo. But the biggest decision grower make is what to plant. And I look at tomato online right now. This is what I think 6,600 tomato you can buy. Which one should I grow? And you look at those catalogs that are beautiful and amazing, but data at the end is one of the missing link. How could we use this information to help even better, let's say, Kat Baker, amazing grower up in Wisconsin, to find a better tomato, or main challenge we have here is broccoli, like climate change, have extremely increased disease like black rot and alternaria, and become almost impossible to grow broccoli in this region. But with collective knowledge and data and effort, could we reshape that? And also, we see so many social media and other, and how can this space of information, we could also have a space where people can exchange, ask questions. Seed discussion is crazy, but how can we enhance the discussion with more information? And so that was really the birth of SeedLinked in end of 2018, really an idea that started in 2012. Took a lot to emerge when I ended up resigning for a large corporation and sitting in this room at Decora Seed Saver in front of Phil, Koss, and other kind of being intrigued by my vision, and here it is. Right now, what is SeedLinked? SeedLinked has really 3 pillars. A collaborative innovation pillar where people can really develop or characterize seed and create knowledge together. Because it's collaborative, we need communication exchange. So there's like an integrated social media where people can exchange information, communicate, ask questions within an innovation project or within their community. And the third pillar is connecting all this information to help find the best seed with collaborative knowledge. And as an example, for example, I'm in the upper Middle West, and we want to develop more early, better sweet pepper. And we start with maybe 30 lines from Seed Saver and other gene bank, and we want to know which one will be the best parents. And as an example, you can send a call into SeedLinked, and we had different call where in literally a few hours we had 250 growers say, yes, send me seed and I will evaluate them for you. And then we have different novel statistical model who allocate the seed to each one, and then they have an app. They can enter different traits, take picture, all the context around the evaluation. They can communicate within the social media, within the app, to give instruction maybe. It's time to evaluate disease, or give instruction on how to do tasting and so forth, or ask question. And then we have live data for the innovator and product leader to look at the result, and I will show result live after. But you can filter by drought, condition, traits, and really look at a full picture of this information to make decision within each innovation project. You can have a full visual picture of each variety, as well as literally hundreds of comments behind each variety. And this is where even more technology is coming up, where we are piloting AI. As you can imagine, having 100 of comments is hard to look at trends and information, and technology like AI, which is, just with open, free model, the knowledge that can be done is staggering, which and a new innovative project at SeedLinked. And then all this information here behind the search engine, and I will show you a little bit later, and everybody can go, and all this information is connected as common knowledge and open source and free. And so to give concrete example on how it is used, we have many group all across most continents who use it in different projects, but you really start with seed bank, and I like Seed Saver, and it's really where SeedLinked was really born in terms of platform firstly used, and people really hated it. I think more than 85% of Adapt, Kate will talk about Adapt later today, hated it. I think from latest survey, we kind of reverse the trend. They enjoy it, but I think, and now it's very efficient, but like as an example, and Kate will talk later, but connecting like more than 700 people to characterize heirloom is amazing, the knowledge that can be done, and this knowledge can serve for any innovator to then breed and find what is best adapted where. And this project started at SeedSaver, and Adapt has been running for a while and expanding with SeedLinked, as stated many other initiatives, like the USDA grain main seed bank now is piloting it and try to leverage it, because we have no resources. Imagine just the bean collection, I believe, has 16,000 bean. It's great, we have all this diversity, but if we don't know much about it, it's really hard to use, and it's so expensive in a conventional model to do it. And so can we do that in a much more cheaper way? And so, yeah, SeedSaver has been at the forefront of innovation and doing with Adapt, and maybe some of you are part of it. And the latest also project now in Europe, we have a handful of seed banks starting to do it. And so imagine in the long term, you can envision literally hundreds of thousands of citizens characterizing our resources and giving us really a blueprint of information to adapt quicker with knowledge. And for example, I started the example of pepper. Okay, we find, let's say, Wisconsin Lake and Doe Hill, and this is a real project with Dr. Julie Dawson. Those have great characteristics, but they are missing some. So we have now a cross, and we are been working on this for 6 years to develop a new sweet pepper for Upper Midwest that, yeah, hope will be the heirloom of the future, that will have amazing flavor, early, open pollinated, high yield, and have a story, a collaborative story for here. We have other project, like I mentioned, broccoli is very hard in this region. We, through SeedLinked, 85 growers got together, screened more than 30 open pollinated hybrids material, and find the one that was more adapted, and also spearheaded a breeding effort to breed for this region where no breeder or like corporate breeding was interested, because it's such a small market. Another effort, I mentioned a cover crop. Cover crop is not profitable as a 10% EBITDA or profit. All those crops were breeding were discontinued. And so how do we breed for cover crop to be more adapted for a winter rice that have enough but not too much allelopathy on weed control, or for a winter pea that we are doing right now that have enough winter survival to have maximum impact on soil health and so forth. I mean, the list is on and on. Or tillage radish with really good roots and system, and with a corporate system, the structure is not suited for that. So we are, the National Cover Crop Breeding Network is using the platform to do that together because of the cost and effectiveness. The European Union, with 37 local partners, is really trying to reshape and explode organic development of seed, using the platform with thousands of people from Spain, Greece, Poland, more than 20 countries, different community to locally develop seed. And also flavor is a big component of the platform, where we can crowdsource flavor with Citizen and other, work a lot with Seed to Kitchen or Stone Barn to really put flavor at the forefront. And I added an educational project that is just starting with, when Michael is here, is really leading this with Edible School Year, because I'm really fascinated by it, because this effort I just been talking, why not it start in the classroom? Like, we need to sensibilize and show that at everyone what is diversity and the power of knowing this and knowing why it is important, or even be exposed to flavor diversity, that a carrot has so many different flavors, or colors, and this project starts with colors, but has so much different flavor and adaptability, and so that's really a different example. I'm going to try here to see if I can, let's see, share and go in the platform live. I think it should be able to hear. And let's see, boop, there we go. This is a live lettuce, heat-tolerant lettuce trial, which has happened last year in Canada, for example. And obviously with climate change and heat, and farmers really need to find better lettuce that withstand the heat in the summer. So we had 76 growers to Canada who got together to try to find best adapted seed, and they tested dozens of open pollinated, some heirlooms, some advanced breeding. And to just show you the knowledge, so here, for example, bolting is super important. So you can see which one seems to be really bolting tolerant. I can look at picture, and you can see all those pictures. This is one variety that you can see in so many different conditions. Again, we are starting different projects with AI to do more image recognition and improve, to extract more information from this picture. But so you have a visual, a rating, and comments, like so you can have so many comments here about each variety. And for example, I only want to see data that come from drought and heat area. And I'm gonna put all the traits. Oh, I need to update to filter. There we go. Drought. And then I can see, oh, it doesn't want to work, but I can see the information on each condition here that I'm using. And so I can really look at, and then let's click on this variety. Each variety now have its own living page, where again I can see picture not only in one trial, but from many different trials. So here's this 2 trial in summer lettuce. I can see where this lettuce has been grown. I can filter data maybe from my Ardennes zone, or more filter. I just want to look at maybe different states and so forth. And so, going back to the presentation. So this is as a live example of how data is, and what we've learned. Well, it's been more than 5 going to 6. We collected close to 500,000 now, or we maybe past insight across thousands of innovation projects, 55 crop, more than 12,000 growers share information. And you can see now we are developing in Europe thanks to the European Union, and you can see the density in the US of people sharing information. And so people want to be engaged, they want to innovate. In typical citizen science or community science, participation is around 25% in a project. SeedLinked, we're, I think, now at 56% participation rate in a project, very high. This community, just to say that the community of grower is extremely engaged and knowledgeable and want to do and change things. We also prove the model that our crowdsourcing data model is more accurate and predictive than the high expensive replicated quantitative station type of trial here, where we have SeedLinked information compared to station trial, and we see a high correlation of information, and it's so much cheaper. We also show that for many characteristics, gardener rating is highly correlated to farmer, which when you have 32 million households who grow vegetable and have more time potentially than a farmer, how we can together really help our farmer as a gardener. And the economic model where a traditional plot in conventional breeding is from $100 to $350 a plot, and doing it together, it's from $20 to $4 a plot, just giving you kind of like going back to facing the wall of a structure as a more decentralized digital tool. We really show that limit resources project is possible, collaboration is possible, and it was very clunky, and it's a software, and it's still a tool, and it's a still issue, but we are up to 80% satisfaction, and we drop the cost of more than 5 to 10x of being able to do this project. And then we create visibility and adoption of this variety. But it's not easy. Like proving something work, it doesn't mean that it's going to be adopted. And I love this quote: if you want to make small change the way you do things. If you want to make big change the way you see things. And changing the way you see things has been definitely a bumpy, challenging, wild journey as an entrepreneur in terms of how do you make this platform sustainable financially? How do you create a software that is aimed to boost diversity, but it needs to be a frame that is simple, in a way rigid, and in a way maybe not diverse. And so all those complex aspects, how do you govern such a tool to not become Airbnb or Uber? But I think the biggest roadblock is adoption and behavior change. Of like scientists are used to control and doing it one way, and how to change that. And to prove a model, it's not like, oh, I'm using Airbnb and I book one night and I can try again. To test SeedLinked is almost a growing season. It's a year. It's not one night. It's not 1 minute. And so it takes time. And sometimes creating system change as an entrepreneur is kind of feel like this. But thanks to all of you here, and Michael and Mike and people like all of you, I think the energy is so strong, and what's really helped me waking up. And I love this quote from Victor Hugo: all the forests in the world are not so powerful as an idea whose time has to come. And that's this idea I feel just be validating is a good time, and there's so much energy and power to make this happen. I'm just here, maybe the most stubborn or stupid, I don't know, to push it, but to lead it. But it's really it's a collaborative effort. It's really not a one-man show. It's thousands of people building this tool, and it's far to be perfect. It's evolving every day. But really, it's to fulfill those dreams that, agriculture of the future will be highly diverse. It has to be, and complex and fragmented and local and collaborative. We have to evolve to do that. And so when I look back, I love a friend told me, like, oh, what you're doing is you're building community of thousands of grow innovators, community of innovators together to tackle change and give and empower community to shape their future food. And I love that, because sometimes I just get kind of stuck into this tool SeedLinked, but really you just go way beyond that, and looking at all the partner behind. I can be so thankful to all the support. I will just stop here and open to question. And
well, Nico, fantastic. You know, I'm already on board.
Thanks, Michael.
It reminds me of the first time we sat together and you kind of dialed all this up, and it was the first time I got my eyes and ears on it. Man, I left that day pumped and energized, and it's just something that, as I've gotten to spend time with you over the years, see you present your work to other folks, the work we're doing with, Heirloom Colored project curriculum, and with Raquel Vigil, who's writing that up, and just the way she left, just, just mind blown, and just really gets you thinking of how powerful community is. And we'll hear from Kate Rowe later, the evaluation manager, and the impact that this software platform has with the ADAPT program and those 700 plus growers, and just how this is able to really expand our understanding of, if you're even just talking at Seed Savers Exchange, what the collection holds, and when we're talking 700 growers, they're doing, 14 plus 100 trials of these crops. So the information that we get to gather with that community, in conjunction with on-farm work, I mean, we're really able to get through the collection and really start to understand it. So it's been such a powerful and helpful tool to our collection, and just to the understanding, that growers get to obtain of varieties out there, because people want to know something about it before they're inclined to try it out, invest the time in growing that. So having the performance information and being able to see that across zones and conditions is just fantastic. So
yeah, sometimes we forget, as breeding can be so long, it can be 8, 10, 12 years, right? But we often forget like adoption. Like you can see amazing variety that took 10 years to come together, and it's going to take another 8 years to really be adopted. And yeah, so sharing this information, yeah, saying, and really, as SeedLinked is only a catalyst in a way, and really the light need to be really shine on those projects, and I can't wait to see Kate present. But this is really where it's happening, and again, yes, this is, I've been kind of my path and journey trying to develop more like something that can enhance that. But it's so amazing, all those initiatives, like they are popping everywhere. And yeah, it really gives me hope when sometimes, to be honest, I receive a comment like, we all know that we can be not our best when we are frustrating with a software or something, and we can send not the most pleasant comment. And when you're behind trying to develop something, and oftentimes most of the feedback you receive, and they're not a lot, are harsh. Sure. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yep. But I've seen so much of the way people are affected to get you back on the horse, to not give up and keep it going. And it's so important that it does.
Yeah, this community is incredible.
It really is. Yeah, we got some, some enthusiastic folks here. Got some questions. Got a couple of course, AI is, everybody's AI on the mind. So I've got Joel here, and Joel says, awesome data, Nico. And is it possible to use AI modeling to forecast future phenotypes from back cross breeding?
Yeah, amazing question, actually. It was like, as of yesterday, I have this tomato and pepper breeding I mentioned with Julie Dawson, and we have up to 500 people helping in the last 4 years. And I was taking this experimental tomato, and I throw comments from 4 years of breeding. This is non-calibrated model, and when it's calibrated for the purpose of breeding and other, just the model as is, as ChatGPT, for example, was telling me, oh, the weakness is, and you should improve X, Y, and Z of this experimental. And so, yeah, to go back to question, model, I think, are extremely powerful, especially in this approach we have that is more unstructured data, to look at and looking at multiple data set. And so I convince, predicting phenotype for the future will be possible. And I mean, this is like states of California and Colorado asking us like, hey, could you get data to do exactly that, of like what's going to be ideal phenotype in 2050 or and so I don't know if Joe, I responded to some of your question, but yeah, AI model on a large data set, unstructured, different sources such as climate is extremely powerful.
Great. And continuing on with AI, we got Charlie. Charlie's a great friend of us here at Seed Savers Exchange. Of course, Nico, such incredible possibilities as we move into warmer and warmer conditions. And thank you for continuing to evolve with this tool. And I'm also interested in how AI might help improve the analysis of the data.
Yeah, I think right now the easiest I was saying is comment. Like colors, if I pull some colors from Adapt, I mean, Michael, you have such an engaged community, like the comment has been overwhelming, to be honest. Like it's easier to put like a 1 to 5 rating together and looking at average or looking by region, but put comment on a chart. Well, how do you do that? And so we are launching a pilot. It will be live in January, and where first initiative is to summarize comment in structured data like flavor and disease and so forth into more structured comment. And second will be improving the search capacity of SeedLinked to feed more into text and all this information. And third step will be image recognition and summary. And then including more climate and other information. I was skeptical in certain aspect of AI, and now I'm like, oh my God, shoot, it's scary. It's scary.
It is. And hopefully for scary in a good way. How about that? That's where we hope we get with it, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, to agglomerate knowledge from people. Like I was feeding comments when I was giving the hardiness zone and a latitude longitude of the comment of those different bean from the USDA. And the AI was telling me, oh, this accession from Ukraine seems to be better adapted in the hardiness zone from 8 to 10. And I can see flavor from X, Y, and Z. It seems that those type of flavor, but it could be improved doing such a thing. And I was like, oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, that is scary. Yeah. But fascinating.
Yeah. So wait, next year, if you're an Adapt participant, you're probably going to see some flavor of it.
So got Julie Dakin here, who did a great presentation on nutrient-rich gardening in our last conference here. And she says, do you have a seed saving or collection sharing component along with the data collection?
So sharing the seed in addition to the data, like I think, Michael, if I understood well, is what we're talking more about seed production and distribution, right?
Yeah. So basically I would say like within SeedLinked, if you're someone has one of these varieties, is there a way to, hey, do you have seeds to share of that? I see you have a fascinating variety there. You've put in some information and data. Julia's come across it. Hey, how do I get a hold of you and get some of that seed?
Michael,
that right?
It will happen with exchange, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah, and also the social component, which is something I've always really thought is such a neat part of this, because it's a way for us all to connect and share knowledge, information, and potentially seeds just through the social aspect, because you can literally reach out and be like, hey, Julia, can I have some of those seeds? So you can connect right to the growers and farmers.
Yeah, so we don't have this yet. but this is a perfect example. And I feel every time I go in person at Seed Saver and we talk, there's a new idea coming up as Seed Saver. I mean, it's amazing because I've kind of all those components, and it's been such an amazing living lab in a way of innovation, because we're like, oh yeah, now it's like, oh yeah, let's connect exchange maybe.
Yeah. We have talked about how do we incorporate the exchange into this.
Thanks, Julia.
Yeah, and and one more coming from Julia, and she says she'd love to take part in the future. Another question: are crop specific growing guides or guidelines provided to the growers?
Yes, that's something in SeedLinked. I'm assuming, Julia, we don't have yet. We didn't have all this information. We don't have yet all this information in SeedLinked. And again, we did a couple pilot with AIs that, like, AI can feed into this giant amount of information on the web and summarize it. And we throw those questions like, what are the best way to grow this tomato and so forth. And it's also shocking. So that's another aspect of, we really would like to incorporate more. Great question.
Nico, one of the things that has always stood out to me about, what you've talked about and where you found value, and you did touch on it in this presentation, but just the power of the individual knowledge of our farmers and growers across the world, and that, instead of just this knowledge and this held in, this corporate knowledge being shared, or even a university knowledge, in some, grand report that you got to go find and read through, but that finding value in the individual growers, because, as I've had the opportunity to talk to old timers and younger farmers, and just the conversations you just get from individual farmers and the tips and insights. And so I always found it one of the most fascinating things is the value you found in that, and that's what we need to tap into, and the efficiencies in that knowledge sharing. I don't know. Can you kind of elaborate on that a bit?
I mean, it's shocking. And somehow with our Western culture way of thinking, where we want to measure everything, we want to have like IoT and sensor and to try to give us all the information. But farming and growing and biology or nature is way more complex than we can even comprehend, right? And so I was with Pioneer and other company. We had millions of dollars to try to comprehend things. And just having a little app and a project that is meaningful and guiding a grower to share their input was more powerful than gazillion of IoT and stuff, because the farmer, first, a lot of them don't know that they know so much, and second, they put everything into context. Like, I don't need 200 IoT to summarize the context. No, I just need this amazing person and try to get this information, and he put everything into context, and his feedback are beautiful. And I think one of the biggest challenges is that we don't trust it. Like, even they don't trust themselves, their own rating. And I can show them on chart. This is 85 grow of broccoli who share the insight is the most powerful information, and still is like some question to believe their own knowledge of like, I think that it's the most promising and beautiful aspect, and it's also the most challenging to convince people that their knowledge is so valid.
Yeah. Which brings me to a great question from our good friend Spencer. And are there places in the world you have not connected but would like to?
Yeah, there's still so many places. I think I would love to have more effort in Central America and South America and Africa and India. We're just starting with some small project, but I think there's so much potential. I mean, looking at India, 1.5 billion people. So many are farmers. A lot of them are connected, and an initiative that we've been trying to push is developing organic cotton developed by local community instead of BT and GMO cotton. And I really hope this to start. And at the end, it's really resources. I wish we had. This is literally organization everywhere and projects that are asking, but we don't have capacity, and it's something we talk with Michael often to try to find funding. And yeah, maybe that's a call of action to all of you here, to support, to connect to other projects, to connect to people who might be interesting to fund, adapt more, and other.
Yeah, it makes me think of, when, Spencer brings up, places in the world, I think of, the state in India, Sikkim, who has gone to 100% organic farming practices, what kind of knowledge, and going back to ways pre, Green Revolution, and what kind of knowledge was held over through those times and is being reestablished there, and what could you gather, in a place like that through a community effort of knowledge sharing and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, capacity, yes. But
Yeah,
the model there for everywhere.
Yeah, I think you had Vandana Shiva here as guest speaker last year maybe. And there's so many initiatives over there, and people, amazing people. Yeah. Matter of fact, SeedLinked is mostly built by a couple engineers in Bangalore and India that are, I can't thank enough. Ashok is our lead senior software engineer there, young, bright farmer and engineer that is here every day with me.
Fantastic. That is fantastic. I just wanted to, Julia's a great engaged one, but I thought this was great, that she loved this quote that you shared. If you want to make small change the way you do things. But if you want to make major changes, change the way you see things.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what you're doing with this, Nico.
Yeah, and it's hard.
For sure.
And it's beautiful. And thanks, Julia. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Michael. Really, this is community who, I think together, we have to stick together and create this energy. I think this energy, it's why I love this second quote too, is I think when something has to come, you can't stop it. You can't stop it. Like, I had amazing paycheck. I had everything at corporation. And somehow I just could not, I can't, no. I had to just sudden resignation. It was so hard. Yeah. Somehow it was like an energy beyond myself, to just do it.
Yeah, lots of times, the right thing, the good thing, the thing that, really motivates you to wake up in the morning, it doesn't always end up with the biggest paycheck. But, that's, but the life part of that is much more important. And so, I think you've got a wonderful community behind you that's so supportive of this work. And we just think that, there's no limit, and this is going to continues to be adopted by more and more folks. And it's truly the way of the future to protect the biodiversity that we have. And we do that by understanding what we have.
Yep.
And so again, I just appreciate this. This is fantastic, Nico. You and I could sit and geek out on this all day, and we will continue through time. So
yeah, and I hope to see all of you sometime in person. For me, in person is so important, as well as digital is make it capacity, and it's amazing. And but yeah, thanks, Michael, for having me. It's such an honor to be here and to be friends and to do this work.
Yep. And we'll do this again and continue on. So, all right, Nico. Well, thank you so much, Nico, for that wonderful presentation and for bringing growers together, to do this important work collectively.
Yeah.
and for being a great friend and partner.
Thank you. So same.
And special thank you to our audience for being with us here today and for making this an engaging experience, and to our sponsor, Rancho Gordo. And up next is No-Till Principles and Practices, Bridging the Gap from the Farm to the Garden with Jonathan Conrad. That's going to start in 30 minutes, so be sure to stay tuned for that. All right. We'll see you later, folks. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.